We're about to have a very controversial but hopefully constructive discussion on why Bitcoin will never ever replace fiat currencies. I hear this mantra a lot by Bitcoin maximalists or proponents of crypto or Bitcoin in general, and they say soon everyone will be using Bitcoin. And that is actually absolutely ridiculous, and it's a flawed argument. We're actually going to dive into why inflation is actually helpful for a fiat currency and an economy that it's supporting. Inflation is actually not a bug or a flaw of currencies. It's a feature that helps economies run smoothly. Now, I'm not talking about inflation that runs away and gets way out of control, or let's say a governing body like the Fed or central banks that become corrupt and completely ruin the currency. We've seen that happen in several countries. Thankfully, that has not happened in America, or at least not yet. But at the same time, having a healthy 2% increase in inflation is actually necessary. Why? Because it encourages spending. Because if you realize that you don't just hodl US dollars and keep them under the mattress and you'll be able to buy more with it in the future, you'll be incentivized to not spend. That would cripple economies and it would actually have a devastating impact on reducing the debt burden. Because think of it, governments, us, when I bought my house, I took, let's say, a $500,000 mortgage out. Over time, it's actually going to be easier for me to pay it off because of inflation, because the value of the debt over time is actually not going to be as high as it is today. This is helpful for both governments and for people to pay off debt. If it was deflationary, then we would have something known as a deflationary spiral, where debt becomes harder to repay and economies actually suffer greatly from it. Now, Bitcoin, even though it's not going to replace fiat, it is a store of value, and that's okay. But before we discuss that, let me dive in and just talk about some of the obvious arguments for why Bitcoin will not replace fiat, and then we'll dive a little deeper into the whole inflationary, deflationary aspect of Bitcoin. So first things first, Bitcoin, the speed of it is actually quite slow. The beauty of Bitcoin is in its simplicity, but that actually makes Bitcoin not the fastest crypto at all, and it struggles in comparison to anything that fiat can do or some of these payment processing merchants. So some of this has been solved with layer 2 scaling solutions like the Lightning Network. Although network congestion can still be an issue, if you'd like for me to make a video dedicated to the Lightning Network, I'd be more than happy to do so. Just mention it in the comment section if you want me to do that. And now I want to talk about the liquidity issues of Bitcoin. Remember, if you're using something to replace fiat currencies, then payment channels need enough liquidity to route payments efficiently with Bitcoin. And that's just not possible because of the capped supply at 21 million. Now, even if the market cap grows, so let's say that the price of one Bitcoin grows to $1 million, and now it is not seen as so devastating that Bitcoin has a supply capped at 21 million, although currently we're over 19 million at the moment, it's still a huge, massive issue. Why? Because the mantra of Bitcoin is to hodl, because people see it as a speculative bet for a store of value, for a hedge against inflation long term, because it is, in fact, deflationary or eventually will be. And that is why it is just not possible to replace fiat, because most people, just take a look at the top holders of Bitcoin. You have Michael Saylor, you have MicroStrategy, you have the Winklevoss twins, you have certain countries, you have these mining companies, you have the centralized exchanges. They hold so much of Bitcoin. Do you think they sell it? Not really. They hodl and they accumulate more. And the whole mantra of the Bitcoin holder, the whole ethos is that Bitcoin is king, it's better than fiat, so go ahead, buy it and hodl it. How many people do you know that are heavy into crypto and absolutely love Bitcoin that are buying it and then holding it and not actually spending it and actually stimulating the economy and buying goods and services. Most of us just hold it. And one of the reasons for that is there's incredible amounts of volatility. Bitcoin in price jumps around so much that merchants simply do not want to touch it. Let's say I'm selling my car for $50,000. I don't want to risk that I sell it to you for $50,000 USD worth of Bitcoin, and then by the time I want to transfer it back into something where I want to spend that Bitcoin on something, Bitcoin has dropped 10%, and now that $50,000 worth of USD in Bitcoin is now just 45,000 USD. And merchants don't want to risk that. The pricing, the planning, how are you even going to have price tags that say $10 USD or this amount of Bitcoin? How are you going to do that when the price of Bitcoin hops around so much? The swings are very unpredictable. And that actually is why the utility of Bitcoin is mostly as a store of value, at least at this point in time. The incentive is to hodl for the long term. And again, that does make it deflationary, because even though for now, as Bitcoin is being mined, it's technically inflationary, as time goes by and because so much of Bitcoin is locked away forever because people lost their keys, especially early on, the big miners that mined a ton of Bitcoin when it was useless and worthless, a lot of them actually lost their keys to their crypto. I mean, it's estimated that it could be even up to 20% of Bitcoin is just gone because those people had it locked away. And then you have Satoshi's wallets that haven't been touched. And if you look at the largest players in Bitcoin, they're not really selling Bitcoin. They're just buying it and hodling it. And that is not something that you could replace fiat with, because you need to stimulate an economy. You need to have incentive to go ahead and spend a ton. And because it's deflationary, because it's going to hit that max supply and can never go up, this is a big problem. Also, it's a problem because there is no governing body that could control it. Think about it. Central banks, the Fed, believe it or not, we actually need these central stabilizers to go ahead and adjust the supply at times to stabilize the economy. And this is extremely important to point out because Bitcoin solely relies on market consensus and speculation. There is no way to stabilize its price. Bitcoin encourages hoarding and it actually discourages economic circulation. So this is not conducive to replacing fiat. And I want to finish this video off by emphasizing that I truly believe that Bitcoin is going to be a global currency, but just one of them, one means of potentially paying for things. But its beauty is in its simplicity as a store of value. It's global, no one controls it. It is really, really difficult to change anything about it. It is truly decentralized. Most other crypto projects are not. And I'm not saying that at some point a certain crypto won't be able to actually replace the US dollar or a fiat type of situation, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. And it certainly isn't going to happen with any of the cryptos that I've researched thus far. And there's quite a lot of them, and there's always innovations of new ones. But keep in mind, most of these new cryptos, they have teams, they have foundations, they have companies and shareholders behind them. No one in their right mind is going to let them run fiat or take over a country's currency. And honestly, that would probably be even more of a corrupt situation than anything that the Fed and the central banks are doing. So with that being said, hopefully this was a stimulating thought experiment to put out here on YouTube. I'm curious to know what you guys think about it. Again, I'm here to educate a little bit, but I'm also very, very hungry and thirsty for knowledge myself, and I would love to learn from you guys as well. So any thoughts on this video, throw it in the comment section, and I will aim to respond to every single comment that comes through. With that being said, I appreciate you for listening for the entirety of this video, and hopefully I'll see some of you in the next one.